You open the cabinet looking for something small, a handful of something, nothing serious, and then somehow, 10 minutes later, the bag is empty and you are sitting there wondering what just happened to you. It was not weakness. It was not laziness. It was not some flaw in your character that made you eat the whole thing. It was a system so old it predates language, predates fire, predates everything you think of as civilization. A system built over millions of years for a world that no longer exists. And the food industry figured out exactly how to use it against you. This is the real story of sugar. And it starts long before candy was invented. Your ancestors did not have grocery stores. They did not have refrigerators, or farms, or even reliable hunting. What they had was a landscape full of food that was either going to help them survive or quietly kill them. And they needed to know the difference fast. Nature gave them a shortcut. Sweet meant safe. Sweet meant calories. Sweet meant energy your body could use right now, today, to run from something or climb something or stay alive long enough to pass your genes forward. Bitter, on the other hand, often meant poison. Sour often meant rot. But sweet meant fruit, honey, the ripe version of something your body desperately needed. Anthropologist Richard Wrangham, who spent decades studying human dietary evolution, argues that the shift to high-calorie foods was not just helpful to early humans, it was transformative. Calorie-dense foods changed the structure of the gut, reduced the energy needed for digestion, and freed up resources for the brain to grow. Your sweet tooth is not a weakness, it is, in a very real sense, a feature of being human. So your brain got wired to chase sweetness, and it got wired hard. Whenever you find something sweet, your brain releases dopamine. Not a little, a noticeable flood. The same basic reward system that responds to social connection, to physical affection, to a sense of accomplishment. Your brain does not just say yes to sugar, it says more. For most of human history, that system worked fine. Sweet things were rare. Fruit grew in seasons. Honey required a terrifying negotiation with bees. You had to work for it, walk for it, climb for it. The reward circuit fired. You ate what you could, and then it was gone, and you moved on. Then something changed. In 1747, a German chemist named Andreas Marggraf isolated sucrose from sugar beets. By the 1800s, industrialized sugar production made refined sugar cheap and abundant for the first time in history. Within a generation, something that was once a luxury available only to royalty became something ordinary people could eat every single day. Your brain had no update for this. Evolution does not work on that timescale. The reward circuit that evolved over hundreds of thousands of years to get excited about rare seasonal fruit was now surrounded by an infinite supply of the exact signal it was built to chase. And it responded exactly the way you would expect. It wanted more. But the real acceleration came much later. And this is where the story gets darker. In the 1970s, food companies started to understand something extraordinary. They began studying the human sensory response to food with a precision that had never been applied before. Not just what people said they liked, what actually made them eat more. What made them stop paying attention and just keep going. Howard Moskowitz, a psychophysicist who worked with some of the largest food companies in the world, pioneered what he called optimization research. He was not trying to make food taste good. He was trying to find what he called the bliss point, the exact concentration of sugar, fat, and salt at which a food becomes almost impossible to stop eating. The point where the pleasure signal is maximized and the satiety signal is delayed or suppressed. He found it, repeatedly, for dozens of products. And once the industry understood the bliss point, it became the target. Your brain is looking for a reward signal that says you found something valuable. Sugar delivers that signal, but a body that has reached its caloric limit also sends a counter signal, a feeling of fullness, of satiety that tells your brain enough. Stop. The bliss point is engineered to hit the reward signal hard while staying just below the level that triggers fullness. Your brain gets the yes without getting the stop. And it is not just the amount of sugar, it is the form it comes in. Nutritional scientist David Kessler, who served as commissioner of the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, spent years investigating why certain foods are so much harder to stop eating than others. His conclusion was that combinations of sugar, fat, and salt do not just taste good. They actively stimulate the same neural circuitry as habit-forming substances. They hijack the dopamine loop. They make you eat past hunger, past satisfaction, past any rational limit. You are not failing to control yourself. You are up against a system that was designed by experts using decades of neurological research, tested on millions of people, and refined until it worked. The cabinet you opened was not full of snacks. It was full of optimized inputs for a reward system your brain cannot switch off. But here is the part that should genuinely surprise you. Your body knows something is wrong. It is not passive in this. It fights back. When you consistently flood your brain with high dopamine food signals, your brain does what it always does with overstimulation. It reduces sensitivity. It downregulates the number of dopamine receptors available. It tries to restore balance. The result is that you need more sugar to feel the same level of satisfaction you felt before. You eat more. You enjoy it less. The pleasure response flattens, but the craving does not. Because the craving is coming from a different place now. It is coming from a system that has recalibrated around the input. A system that now registers the absence of sugar as a kind of deficit. A low-level discomfort that only goes away when you eat. This is not metaphor. This is the same neurological mechanism that underlies behavioral patterns researchers classify as addictive. Studies conducted at Princeton University by neuroscientist Bart Hobel and his team showed that rats given intermittent access to sugar exhibited escalating intake over time, signs of craving during abstinence, and behavioral patterns that mirror what researchers observe in substance dependency. The brain on repeated sugar exposure is a brain that has changed, and yet, here you are, in the same body that survived the Ice Age. The same brain that was once perfectly calibrated for a world of seasonal scarcity, now running in a world of engineered abundance. The signals are the same, the circuitry is the same, but the environment it was built for is gone. So what do you do with that? You cannot rewire the reward system, you cannot make dopamine stop caring about sugar, but you can understand that your cravings are not your identity. They are not evidence of weakness or failure. They are the output of a system that was built for a completely different world, being activated in this one. The research on reducing sugar cravings converges on a few consistent findings. Protein consumed earlier in a meal significantly delays the blood glucose spike that drives the reward loop. Longer sleep, even a single extra hour, measurably reduces next-day craving intensity, a finding consistently demonstrated in sleep deprivation studies. And the dopamine reset, the process of recalibrating your sensitivity, begins faster than most people expect, within 2 to 3 weeks of reduced intake, according to clinical dietary research. Your ancestors spent their whole lives searching for the next sweet thing. They found it rarely. They ate it fully. And then they kept moving. You opened a cabinet looking for something small. And now you know exactly what opened it for you. The question is not whether the pull is real. It is. The question is whether you understand finally what you are actually up against. Not a personal failure. Not a lack of willpower. A system 300 million years in the making, tuned by evolution, and then precision targeted by an industry that understood your brain better than you did. That bag was never just a snack, and you were never just hungry.